Thank you so much for coming back for another episode of Girl Don't Do It. For those of you that are new to Yes Queen and Girl Don't Do It, it is my food review show in which I look at the latest trendy quote-unquote health foods and decide if they are a yes queen or if they are a girl don't do this. And I am so excited, so let's get into it. How I like to decide if something is a yes queen or a girl don't do it is that I look at three major components that make up a food's story. So the first part is the serving size and the calories. The second part is the macronutrients. And for those of you that don't know what macronutrients are, that is the fat, protein, and carbs that make up the food. And then the last thing I'll be looking at is the ingredients. And I do that because we've all been taught to look at food in very segmented ways. So we're taught that, oh, if the calories look a certain way, then it's healthy. Some of us are taught if we look at the macros a certain way, then it's healthy. And some of us are taught, oh, if I just focus on the ingredients, that will tell me if something is healthy or not. So the thing is that all of that information is on the back of the food for a reason. And that is because it is not about a part that can tell you whether or not something is healthy, but it's about the synergy of all of that information coming together. So anybody that knows me knows that I have two main bays, food bays, I will say, because I know my male bae will get mad at me. But I have two main food bays in my life, and that is peanut butter and cookies. Cookies are just, I don't know what it is about them. They're just such a comfort food for me. And I am so diverse with the kinds of cookies I love. Peanut butter, sugar, butter, hard, soft, gooey, half-baked, fully baked, unbaked. Salmonella meant nothing to me as a kid, which is awful. You should not eat raw cookie dough. And I'm saying that for legal reasons. But yeah, salmonella meant nothing to me as a kid. So I am obsessed with cookies. I would risk my life for cookies. And I am on the quest to find a good protein cookie. I'm sure you guys have seen them all over the gym and places like that. So I'm going to find a cookie that fulfills all of the needs that I'm looking for. So let's get into it. The cookie that I'm going to be reviewing today is I'm sure you guys have seen this cookie everywhere. I know I have. It is the Lenny and Larry's Complete Cookie, and it's peanut butter, so you know I'm in my element. I'm hoping that this is a yes queen so I can tear into this cookie. So if you look at the packaging, they do a lot of selective attention marketing. For those of you that don't know what selective attention marketing is, I will put a link to an article that I've written about it. But a brief overview of it is just that they're really trying to focus your attention on certain parts of the food, which could be for good or for bad. It could be that they are either really just trying to grab your attention, or it could be because they want you to focus on this and not other elements of the food that could potentially not be so great. So at the top of it says 8 grams of fiber per cookie, which is interesting because when you touch it, I really do feel like there's only one cookie in here. So I'm not sure what they mean by that. It says no eggs, no dairy, no soy, no GMO, no credit card debt, no student loan debt. There's not much of anything going on in here. And then if you look, it also has in the corner that it is 16 grams of protein, but again, per cookie. So still don't really know. I guess we'll have to look at the nutrition facts to figure out what they mean by that. So let's do that. As you look in the back, again, there's some more selective attention marketing there. A lot of the same stuff that was on the cover, and then there's fresh baked, no high fructose corn syrup, no cholesterol, no trans fat, no artificial sweeteners, no sugar alcohols, blah, 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 blah. It's like, so here's the thing with like the state of food marketing nowadays, like it's basically letting us know that food is so full of junk nowadays that the only way that we can really pull in your attention is to let you know that we're not one of those people that puts junk in our food. I just don't know how I feel about that, you know? Like I just wish that we could talk about what is in the food, and nobody really wants to talk about what is in their food anymore because they know that there's some crap in it. So I'm already a little weary of the fact that they're talking so much about what's not in the food and they're not really talking about what is in the food. So again, the first thing that I like to look at is the serving size and the calories and the relationship between those two things. And if I feel like the serving size is representative of what I think people will actually eat. And then as a side note, I'm really excited about this cookie because I'm touching it and it feels kind of soft. And I definitely have a soft spot. You know, I didn't even do that on purpose, but I definitely have a soft spot for soft cookies, like especially cookies that are kind of like half baked in that in-between stage of like half cookie dough, half starting to form like a little crust. Like, you guys know I think about this shit. So this definitely feels like it's a nice, soft, thick, solid cookie. So right now the serving size says it is 2 ounces, so about 56 grams of this cookie, and that serving size per container is 2. So all of the information that I'm going to talk to you about, so the calories, the macronutrients, that's all for half of this cookie. So the calories say that it is 200 calories. I'm already a little bit weary of the fact that the calorie information that they're showing on the nutrition label is for half of the cookie, because I'm pretty sure that when people see this, they're going to say to themselves that, oh, it's only 200 calories if I eat this whole cookie, and that's not true. So if you eat this whole cookie, then it's actually 400 calories for the whole cookie and not 200 calories. So I'm already a little bit weary of that, just because I think that people would want to eat this whole cookie, and I don't think that the calories accurately reflect what I think people would actually eat. So let's look at the macronutrients now. And again, for those of you that don't know what macronutrients are, it is the fat, carbs, and protein that make up a food. The saturated fat, monounsaturated fat, all the fiber, all of that, those are micronutrients. You also want to look at those as well, just to that's more information to help you evaluate where certain things are coming from. Let's look at the fat first. So for half of this cookie, it is 7 grams of fat, 1.5 grams of saturated fat, and 1 gram of monounsaturated fat. I'm assuming the rest is coming from polyunsaturated fat. Oh, the other thing that you guys should note too is that just because something says 0 grams doesn't always necessarily mean that it's 0 grams. It just means that it's under a certain amount. I think it's under 0.5 grams, which I think is important to know, just because this is, again, the nutrition information for just half the cookie. But if we doubled it, you know, it says no trans fat, but, you know, if you double it, it could be that the trans fat is such a small amount that, you know, at 200 calories, you don't notice it. But then if you doubled it to what the actual serving size of the cookie is, it could show up. I doubt it, just because they advertise so heavy that there's no trans fat in it. But that is something to know, and that's something that food advertiser you guys, words. That is something that food advertisers can get away with, is if it's under a certain amount, they can just label it as 0, which, you know, for that serving size is fine. But then if you're eating more than that, it could show up. So if you had the whole cookie though, the fat content would be 14 grams of fat, which to me right there, I don't know how I feel about that, especially because they don't tell you what the major source of fat is. If it was 14 grams of fat, I would know that 3 grams of that would be coming from saturated fat, and 2 grams of that would be coming from monounsaturated fat, which, you know, 3 grams of saturated fat isn't terrible, especially for me. So I have the ApoA2 gene, and the ApoA2 gene is essentially a saturated fat sensitivity, and I learned that when I did Fitness Genes. But even then, I'm still not a huge fan of the 14 grams, but not knowing where the majority of that is coming from. So I can assume that it's coming from polyunsaturated fat, which actually also wouldn't be that great for me either. I know I have all of the fat sensitivities. So I have a saturated fat sensitivity, and then I also have a polyunsaturated fat sensitivity, which just means that there are certain polyunsaturated fats that are okay. And so, I can't say for sure if the majority of that fat is coming from polyunsaturated fat, but just the fact that they're not necessarily revealing where that main source of fat is coming from is troubling for me. Let's look at the carbs. So it's 27 grams of carbs, but again, that's only for half of the cookie. So if you had the whole cookie, it would be somewhere around 54, I believe, with a lot of that coming from sugar. So there's 12 grams of sugar in this. So if you double that, it would be 24 grams of sugar. It does have 4 grams of fiber. So that's where the 8 grams of fiber is for the whole cookie. But 8 grams of fiber in relationship to 24 grams of sugar, like, nah boo, I don't think so. And then yes, it is 16 grams of protein for the whole cookie, but let's just look at the ingredients. I won't completely say it yet, but I think I'm already on the verge of being like, I don't know about this. All right, so the ingredients list is right here, and I'm already a little weary because it's pretty long. I tend to like to go for foods that have a smaller ingredients list just because the more stuff that's in it, the more likely there is to be crap in it. And I also like to go for foods where I can recognize what's in it. Just because you can't recognize what's in it doesn't always necessarily mean that it's bad. 9 times out of 10, I have gotten something and I was like, oh, what was that? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, it's not that bad. So I wouldn't be deterred from that, but at the end of the day, I would say it's really about a ratio. So most of the things that you see in the ingredients list should be things that you understand and that you know and that you can pronounce. If most of the things on the ingredients list are things that you can't pronounce or that you don't know what they are, I probably wouldn't mess with it. Oh, and then the other thing you should know about the ingredients list is that it's organized from the most used ingredient to the least used ingredient. So the first couple ingredients should definitely be things that you understand or know how to pronounce or are familiar with. So the first ingredient here is 100% vegan enriched wheat flour, and it's unbleached, so I'm not mad at that. It has niacin, iron, thiamine, mononitrate, riboflavin, sunflower lecithin. Now here's the thing, some of this I know, a lot of this is a lot of stuff that I'm not really familiar with, like thiamine mononitrate. I'm gonna have to Google that. Niacin I'm not very familiar with. I feel like I've seen it on food packages before. Cane sugar is very high up, so I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah, it's just a lot of stuff that I'm not super familiar with, and the stuff that I'm not super familiar with is very high at the top. And then the stuff that I am familiar with, like peanut butter, they have a protein blend that's a mix of pea protein, rice protein, and wheat. Oat fiber, chicory root fiber, like all of the stuff that I know and can pronounce is towards the bottom. So I'm already not a huge fan of that. Y'all, do you know what is so crazy? So I took a minute to start to research some of the words that I didn't understand on the Lenny's packet. So do you guys remember when I said that you have to be careful about the macronutrient reporting on the food, because 0 doesn't necessarily mean that it is completely absent within the food. It just means that it's under a certain amount in which they are legally not required to report. And so I was looking up one of the items that is in the food. It's vegetable monoglycerides. And so in my research, let me pull it up so I can read it to you. It said monoglycerides and diglycerides are food additives commonly used to combine ingredients containing fats with those containing water, 2 types of ingredients that don't ordinarily combine well. And I'm gonna put a link to this article in the description box. So trans fats are not that great, and they're made up in part of fatty acids. Mono and diglycerides may contain trans fats either when manufactured in a lab or if they come from an animal or vegetable source when exposed to heat for processing into packaged and prepared foods. And so in 2006, the FDA began requiring that all food manufacturers list trans fat on the label. However, this law applies to lipids like triglycerides, but not to emulsifiers like mono and diglycerides. Therefore, even though mono and diglycerides may contain trans fatty acids, they do not fall under these labeling requirements. This means that a food may be labeled as possessing 0% trans fat, yet still contain trans fatty acids from mono and diglycerides. Yeah, y'all, ultimately, I'm gonna have to say, girl, don't do it on this one. And I'm really sad because I wanted to tear into this cookie so bad, but between the misproper labeling to me of the serving size in relationship to the calories, just because I believe people would want to eat this whole cookie or think that this calorie information is reflective of eating the whole cookie when it's actually only for half of the cookie, the fact that we don't really know what the main source of fat is because it's not labeled on it, the fact that you'll be getting around 50 grams of carbs with half of that coming from sugar, the ingredients list being a bunch of words and ingredients that I don't 100% understand at the top, and then the things that I do understand being at the bottom, which means that those are kind of the least used ingredients. Like, honestly, I would say for a peanut butter cookie, I would expect peanut butter to be much higher on the list than where it is. And then there's all of this selective attention marketing going on. Yeah, I would have to say, girl, don't do it on this. That being said, if you are, so one of the concepts that I want to talk about later on is this idea of value foods and identifying what are your value foods, because I don't review these things to say that you should never buy them again, because there are some foods that you will eat and you're just kind of like, I'm obsessed with this food, and like, I know that it's bad for me, I know that I shouldn't eat it, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm addicted to the taste and it makes me feel a certain way. So I'm not here trying to tell you that you can't eat it ever again. I'm just saying that it's something that I wouldn't incorporate into my daily diet. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be eating this after every workout. You know, this is something where if I really loved the taste of it, then maybe I would have it once a month. Like, when I say, girl, don't do it, it's not that you have to completely abandon it, but it's something that I wouldn't say you should be eating on the daily, or even the weekly. I would say it's something that you could treat yourself to if you felt like it. But it's not something that I would say is healthy, or is going to be adding any real nutritional benefit to my diet. Like, this is the kind of food where, like, it's marketed as being very healthy, but like, you might as well just eat a real cookie if you're about to eat this, like, just to have an extra amount of protein, but like, you're still getting a whole bunch of other, like, I would rather eat a very fatty and decadent peanut butter cookie if it was between that and this. Like, I don't think that this is adding any more nutritional value than eating a regular cookie would. So that's why I would say it's a girl, don't do it. It just, you know, I don't see too much of a difference from it. I mean, outside of it being vegan, so I mean, maybe this is a really good treat for a vegan, but I wouldn't say that there's anything about it that makes it healthier for you. I just think that this is just a good treat. I think this is a great vegan treat. So girl, don't do it for me. I still might eat it. But again, it would be a treat. I wouldn't eat it because I think that it's healthy or anything. I would just be eating it knowing that it's a treat and I want a cookie. So that's it for Girl Don't Do It today. If you have any ideas for things that you would love for me to review, please feel free to hit me up on social media. You can DM me, you can tweet me, I'm trying to be more active on Twitter now. But yeah, just hit me up and I will be happy to add it to the list of things I'm doing. And this was so much fun. I hope you guys had fun. If you did, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you guys for the next Girl Don't Do It. In love, peace, and unapologetic fierceness. My name is Daysha Veronica, and I will catch you guys later. Bye.